we're gonna start with the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic which stands.
Bring animals from the barn?
Which farm were you at?
Our horses are up in Glastonbury.
Oh.
Yeah.
And you wanna try to get it over a message?
I do, but my husband doesn't want horses.
You don't think it's working?
Not even in town.
Yeah,
Fair.
it's a process. He didn't want dogs either, and that took 20 years. Yeah, now we have two.
Yeah, you should, right? Are we in the small screen on the right hand side and you just have to merge it? There we go.
Why is there's a exclamation mark on the audio to the left there?
All the way down on the taskbar.
It's recording up in the top left corner.
Yeah. It is recording, it's just a matter of what microphone it's using.
Did you do a test on the mic? Oh, you got it. Whatever it is you touched is the exclamation point is on.
Alright, I'm gonna pause the recording and start it. Okay.
There you go.
There you go.
Now we're good.
Okay. Yeah, all right, let's move forward. Audience of citizens, we have none. Approval of the minutes. Anybody have any redactions or anything they'd like to make to the?
The one thing was that you had me present and absent, so,
Oh.
Yes.
and I'm really good, but I'm not that good.
You were here part of the time.
It's here in I was here in spirit, it was not in body.
That's what confused. What was the spirit part?
Yeah, that's scary. And then the other question I had was, so the minute, I didn't see it in the package, but the meeting dates for next year.
Oh, we were making changes to that.
Yeah.
Because of conflicts.
Yeah.
How do we make out? I didn't see that in there.
I forwarded them to Steve Wilson and I also sent them to Big Paul.
Is that the accurate one? The one that we had last month, there was changes being made that
Yeah,
weren't
yeah,
unfair.
because it was wrong fair and because of Easter.
These are calls earlier this year. I just, they weren't in, it wasn't in my packet,
It's not my.
and I didn't have it, so if you can just, if you can send them again, or we could put them in, maybe in the minutes. Just like, it's good, written somewhere.
June 12th was changed to the Juneteenth.
Yeah.
Well, didn't we change
September.
September 11th is not the fair, right?
No, that's the new day.
That's the new
September
day.
11th. Because the fair is like.
Yeah. We were gonna talk later, you know, I don't think we approved them because I think, I asked about May 15th, that's Police Memorial Day.
Yeah.
So we were see if we could, yeah, we were gonna determine whether or not we're gonna do the meeting.
Well, I did send them.
So you want to wait? on
Okay,
that?
so they haven't been finalized, I guess is my. Is it believe?
I thought they were finalized.
I believe the minutes say they were finalized.
Yeah,
That's why I was looking for a copy, but if they're not finalized, maybe amending to the minutes to reflect that they haven't. been
September
finalized.
11th was the date we changed from the 18th, so the one we didn't finalize was, May 15th.
but that was because you thought there was a conflict with the conference.
Well, it's Police Memorial Day.
Yeah.
That's
And so-
conflict with the fact that most people aren't around. We go down to DC and all. Yeah, we can always change it as we get closer.
Yeah,
So,
why don't we wait till February to make a plan?
well, they just had to have dates for Cape Wall, right?
Yeah,
Yeah, well, and again, the minutes were said, the dates were finalized. So if they weren't, we need to amend the minutes, and if they were, maybe put in the dates that have been finalized too in this minutes, just so everybody has.
okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yep.
So we need a motion to accept the minutes.
Second.
So you're saying that it's just a question of minutes, so. Because my brain is like washed with all these people passing around. Were you here?
It was not during
Okay,
December.
so you were excused.
I was excused.
Okay, I just make sure. Oh, and it's- okay. I'm sorry. Mr. Chairman, go ahead.
Okay, so we're moving on to the months. Keeps monthly.
No. You skipped the
Correspondence.
correspondence.
Correspondence, we have coming into here is a letter from the Police Commission Association of Connecticut. So we'd like to just review these right now, or do you want to just accept them?
I had correspondence too. I had somebody email me about the red light ban and really.
We're gonna discuss that on another day.
Yeah.
That's on our agenda.
Yeah, Ron Phillips, I just wanted to put out there, he emailed me concerns about why we're not jumping on it, and if it is a monthly discussion in our meeting.
Right, Officer Bobak further in there.
Yeah.
So I give you a copy.
Um,
So we're all set with correspondence? We don't.
Accept it, forget it. Like, I'm over it. Just move it.
I'm not in the way, so.
We'll move on to the chief's monthly report. Chief would like to comment.
So. You know, it's busy month, coming off the holidays. Steve Wilson, as chairman, got a letter from, town clerk, and they sent me a copy. And by statute, you need to do accomplishments of the police commission for the past year. So what I did, I didn't even talk to him, because I haven't seen him, but what I did was I said, well, if we're gonna have to do this anyway, why not just do it here and repeat the monthly report? And that's what you got basically from me, is a year in review. And when I started saying, okay, what did we do in 2023? And this is not comprehensive, but there's actually, I was counting all the things earlier today, and there's 39 different changes or things that we did in the PD. Where most police departments, this is why I'm gonna tell you, the same thing I told the lieutenant and the deputy chief was with me this morning on this. The average police department does maybe 4 or 5 big projects a year. We knocked out 30, and some of the things that were our goals, we still didn't hit because of things out of our control, like we wanted to get to the 46 by December 31st. We did not get that. So now our goal is to get to 46 before the end of the fiscal year. And I think we will do that with pretty short right now. But we also had a bunch of other things going on besides hiring, which is like our full-time job now these days. And then, you know, they started downstairs with the, construction. I'll talk about that when we get to that. But just sitting back and looking at what we did this year, I didn't even realize we did as much as we've done. And that's really a testament to the fact that, we're not stepping on anybody's necks when it comes up with good ideas. That's the difference. So it's not a me show, it's a we show. Everybody down is taking ownership on different projects and doing a really good job. And there's a metamorphosis, as we know, that's been going on for at least 3-4 years. It really started probably when Clett was here in law enforcement. There's metamorphosis, and we're changing with that metamorphosis. Plus, we're playing catch. So that's why you got the kind of report that you're getting this month. You know, if there's any specific questions about any of these things, I can answer any one of them. Yeah.
No, agencies change news. The glacial pace at best.
But our place is well safe. Yeah, ours is flying. It's just amazing things that happened this year. There's so many things that we didn't plan for. You know, we had goals going into 2023. And some of these things were not even on the radar and, by virtue of whatever cause and effect, we had to make some changes and adjustments. I look, on my phone is my whiteboard from last year at this time when I wrote down the goals for this year. There's only a couple of things that we didn't hit that we will probably hit before the end of the fiscal year. Part of it is money. We gotta look at, we're getting killed with a lot of unfunded mandates from police officer standardized training, from the state. It's like every time somebody from the state opens up their mouth, we gotta open up our pocketbooks. And just some simple things, you know, and Drew's working hard on this, budget. We're all happy come just before Christmas, we're ready to go with the budget, and then we start finding out like the cost of the case is double, the cost of this is double. We're not talking about 8%, 10%, we're talking 50% or more increases, 60% on, some of the software problems. And we've had to go back in our budget requests, and today we were in the top managers meeting. It's gonna be tough because just the government side of the budget is over a 10% increase, and I'm gonna tell you right now, the police want to take a big chunk of that. But we have to, we gotta provide certain things that we just didn't count on. We had was it a $9,000 bill for that, the body cams that we didn't know we're gonna have to pay this year, and
Right.
now that's gonna be more every year. It's a licensing fee. We thought it was all inclusive.
Yeah,
Just
it was about a $10,000 licensing fee.
that was never budgeted.
All these body cameras are licensed, the car cameras, body cameras, and you have to pay a licensing fee for them every year. We didn't realize that at the beginning, because we bought all the equipment, they didn't want to tell us. In the first year, they
Just like
skipped it
Oh, they-
because, you know,
Hey, first year free.
no,
Yeah.
what happened was, Motorola bought out WatchGuard, and in the process, they forgot about the licensing. So then they went back and they sent us a bill for 2 years. And we
Because they
said,
didn't bill us.
We said,
Oh,
you're,
no.
you're crazy. We, not only did we not budget for it this year, we didn't budget for it next year. So they basically forgave those bills because there's no way they can get us to pay for it.
Yeah, it's not a contract that we signed.
But last year, starting this past July, we had to pay it,
Okay.
but it wasn't budgeted for. So that sucked up 10 grand out of certain accounts that we didn't have a lot extra. So right now, we're at a point where our equipment accounts are just about empty. And we got 6 months to go. And we had to add in another $25,000 in our budget next year to pay for, the EpiPens.
We
You have to
found
have,
out.
it's a state mandate that in July, you have to carry these pens in the car. Any marked patrol car that responds to medical calls has to carry these pens. You have to have, there's 2 different pens, you have to have 2 of them. $600 each, like $1,200 per car. For our fleet, just for the patrol fleet, about $25,000 we'll have to spend in these pens in the car.
When you're doing the budget, you don't know these things. You have to go back and add it in, and then, you know, that's a problem. It's a problem.
So when you refer to the budget now, you say, and you have to go to the finance board and say, gee whiz, we need more money. A lot of these pressures are, you have a lot of overtime for filling work because of lack of having enough staff. That situation is that you have, all this mandatory training, all these cost overruns, and all of this is gonna become an avalanche of more money needed in our budget. There wasn't.
Well, we did submit a big budget this year. There's no doubt about it. And we,
We're
first,
planning for it next year.
we knew it was gonna be big, and then since that first submission, we've been hit with a bunch of things, like the power outage, the radio system. Those are big ticket items, which we're well aware of. But then, like like you talk about these EpiPens, we didn't hear about that until the week before last.
Well, I guess my question with the EpiPens is like, most people that have allergies or who have insurance, their EpiPen is covered as their insurance, so why are the police being required to carry them?
You can walk in.
And how do we
You can walk into CVS if you have a loved one that has a drug problem You get
And
a
get Narcan
free
for free.
Naloxone, which is Narcan.
Yeah.
We pay a lot of money to buy that stuff. We get nothing for free. So, yes, we have to pay for all that, and it's a mandate. If you're a first responder, every first responder vehicle has to carry this certain equipment, and that's why we're gonna.
I think it makes sense, but that you think that.
Right, well, I'd like to move on to one other issue. I mean, that's a wonderful report that was done for one thirty. Chief report. It does state everything that we've done with training, with creating new positions, the K9 program, the hiring of probationary officers, defined benefit plan, department locker rooms are moving ahead, several changing staffing assignments, transport trailers, so there's a lot of very good things that have happened.
Settling contracts in less than 2 months was a godsend for us.
So the other question that came up from the public that was brought to my attention was that, and I had asked the chief and deputy chief their opinion on that briefly before the meeting started, and I'd like them to expand on it, is the fact that if you look at this whole, there's a report that is done, it's like an audit of what's been done over the past since 2014 to 23. It's for the entire town. It just happens to be page 130 out of I don't know how many pages.
Not in the envelope.
No, I gave it to you already. I gave you one of it. And what it has is it has the amount of physical arrest. And then it has adult arrest, juvenile arrest, traffic violation, infraction, misdemeanor, and five were to surmise what I was told. As far as the juvenile goes, back about 2018, our legislature really recapped us as to what we can do proactively to deal with juveniles. And that's responsible for a lot of the drop off of once you get from 2018 to 2023. Also, you had the George Floyd situation from 2019 to 2021. There's issues with traffic violations where I don't know if you'd like to explain that the legislature in Connecticut has really dissuaded us from making any unnecessary traffic stops, and that would include what you as far as.
Yeah, well, you know what, I'm looking at this as you're talking, and I'm seeing that 2021 and 2022, the numbers are really knocked down, but you also gotta remember that we were in COVID, so we weren't making motor vehicle stops, we were trying to keep human contact to a minimum. And then there's that there's a really, that's almost 3 times as many stops in 23 than in 2022, because we're still coming out of COVID, so there's a lag effect there. Plus, also, I'm sure that the lower numbers have to do with the fact that, we didn't have the manpower to go out there and do some of the stuff that we were doing previously prior to, COVID, and then the way they're being trained in the way that, you know, current philosophy on motor vehicle stops is totally different than it was 5 years ago.
There's just something out about juveniles too. I wanna give Berlin a whole lot of credit because we were in a JRB meeting, we were comparing what Berlin does to what other towns do. And I don't think you get enough credit for the work that you do because our SRO really deflects a lot of those juvenile arrests way before they become arrests. You know, they really kind of, and even the detectives, like a lot of these situations are into the bud right away so that they don't escalate to the situation of having arrests. And I think that if you look back, the day the SROs went back, you know, we're in the school full time and taking more of that proactive approach, kind of aligns also with the change in legislation. And I think our guys aren't getting enough credit for the work they're doing to the police department in moving human services in to help get the appropriate services for families that are struggling. At a, you're like, I forgot now, why is my water it's not coming to me? Kind of like.
We're really trying to fight for
Prevention.
wraparound services.
Yes. And you guys do a great job at prevention, so intervening early and getting these wraparound services in, so.
So that's helping with these final numbers dropping.
I firmly, I mean, from where I sit, like comparing like juvenile review board kind of work, Berlin's far exceeding some of the work other towns are doing.
Wonderful, that's wonderful. The other thing I'd like to mention is that, it appears to be, I'm not a fan follower of the borough and budget stuff, but there are concerns on how many people are running lights, how many people are running stop signs. And the question is, from the general public, is what is the borough and community prepared to do about this? Now, if we do this during the day, granted, it's probably people that are rushing to get to school, that's not anything else, but at what point do we start to say, okay, it's not okay to roll through that stop sign? It's not okay to blow through that traffic.
Well, I'll tell you right now, I don't believe, yeah, I'm gonna differ on this, I'm gonna tell you right, it's simple. It's not that we're letting people go. Okay, that's not the issue at all. The issues, it's not one particular thing. You run the stop sign in front of me, I go to pull you over and you speed off, I cannot pursue you. And everybody knows that. And
It's not
that's a
like this.
huge issue. We're not in pursuit mode. We don't pursue anybody. The window for pursuit, and it's department policy, it's state statute, it's training. They're not training people for this type of stuff anymore in Connecticut. Per se, it's not one particular thing. And
Is it fair to say it's also discouraged in the academies?
well, it has to be discouraged because we're not supposed to pursue vehicles for minor motor vehicle violations. And everybody knows it.
And that
It's
comes
not
back
a
to
secret.
statute, correct?
Yeah, it's the statute.
It's not even, so I mean, if they pursue them, they're breaking statute, so.
Yeah, and guess who gets prosecuted? Guess who gets sued?
Exactly.
Guess who pays out big money? I mean, the town's gonna be paying big money, the officers get fired, you got a million things going on, so our officers, our young officers coming out are not aggressive enough to make that, if I go to make the stop and the person takes off, we have different things like, okay, pull off to a side street, tell them you broke off your pursuit on the radio, it's all on cameras, make sure you break off that pursuit. The days of, well, I'm gonna follow the car. Not even pursue, I'm just gonna follow, see where they go, we don't do that anymore. The liability is too great, and so I believe that's leading to the lawlessness and the poor motor vehicle operation. The other part of it is it's an infraction. What happens when you don't pay your infraction? You gotta pay your warrant. Now we got, 10,000 warrants on a folder to try to find people. I know social media, everybody gets on there. Everybody's complaining about the red lights. Listen, I drive every day, a lot. And I can tell you, it's not just a Berlin problem. It's a statewide problem. It's a national problem. It's like being on the Autobahn in Germany and people just don't have to follow any rules. And you'll see that you're, and I don't wanna say much, but the state police ticket thing is also having a negative effect on all other agencies. Then we have the racial profiling thing. We're looking at that, they waved the flag and said, oh, we did a preliminary report and you guys are tagged again for racial profiling. So now our officers are saying, wait a minute, I'm not racially profiling anybody. And the only way to keep from getting tagged as that would be not to make motor vehicle stops if I don't have to. Also, our calls for service have changed. As crime gets more criminal activity, not motor vehicle, but other criminal activity. Look for a domestic dispute. When a department has a 3-man or a 4-person size agency per shift, and you get 2 domestics, that's tied up all your people. 2 and 2, right? We have 3. We are a 3-car minimum. It's not hard, and it happens every day just about, that our 3 officers get tied up with so many hours into the shift. And, you make an arrest, you have larcenies, you've got, domestic violence cases take a lot, they take a lot. So,
They're risky too.
yeah, and you gotta do follow-up, and again, the training has changed. I've been doing this, I just entered you are entering my 41st year on January 28th. The days of, taking care of something, making an arrest, separate people, do that, and move on. They gotta come back in after they dealt with people in the field, you gotta make phone calls, you gotta do, lethality assessments, there's a lot more to just a domestic, but not just domestic, look at the things supposed to pay. We had bank robbery. And with the help of Meredith, we solved the bank robbery. right? I'm not picking on the FBI, but they were really not that.
How about the gas station,
The gas station robbery, that's a big case. We had a commercial burglary last night. We had two suicides in a 1 week period. These are all big cases, even though, like a suicide, nobody's at fault of the person that is the victim, right? Or whatever, but it still requires the same amount of investigation as a homicide. And, our officers are doing it. Because those numbers, not listed in NIBRS and the FBI's 8 areas they look at, those quality of life issues are increasing. And everybody calls and says, hey, listen, people run a stop sign, people run a red light. We are well aware of that. We've tried to do blitz. We don't even have the manpower to do like a blitz, you know, we've tried a couple different things over the summer, then the holidays come, then you get busy again. And then, you know what, I'm gonna be outspoken on this. The state threw out a red herring by saying, listen, we're gonna let you go out and do red light traffic control stuff. We're gonna let you put cameras in your lights, but when we do it, and you're gonna see that in the report,
Yeah.
there are major considerations. And it's gonna cost us a lot of money to put these traffic cameras in. And then we have to maintain the program. We have to figure out, if the fines are only $50, and that's not, the state
Will it
charges
cover the
one,
cost
right?
of it?
No, because now you gotta have a hearing officer, you gotta have an appeals process, somebody's gonna have to review this footage. Right now, in our budget request for this year, we've requested a part-time person to do our body cam redactions for all the FOIs. And I know that's gonna end up getting cut because the budget's too high. And who's gonna be the person that's gonna come in, that's gonna get trained to sit there and view all this footage and then find out, okay, that car ran the red light, this is the license plate number. And there's a whole other issue here that nobody's even discussed yet. The legislature in this new session is gonna be addressing license plate readers. And there's a big push by groups like the Connecticut Civil Union and ACLU, saying, hey, all this information being gathered on these license plate readers, that's kind of like a violation of people's rights, right? And that's what they're trying to play it off. So before we throw our money into the hole, we need to really sit back. I think we should sit back and see what other places are gonna do.
And
I
how
do
it
not
plays
see
out
this
for a
as
little
a
bit.
success, yeah. If it was gonna be a success, the state would take the money.
If it was gonna be a success too, so we were driving back from DC, and there's no consistency to who has red light and who doesn't. If there was really any consistent value in it, you would see it in places like New Jersey where everyone's on the street.
Yeah.
Like everyone travels to New Jersey, no one stays there. But like in states like, you'd see it in states like Jersey and New York, where the traffic is a bigger issue, and you don't see it consistently town to town.
We're probably about 2 years out from even being able to establish cameras at our highest crash intersections, which are on the Berlin Turnpike. Because the state has already told us that if you have a signal light that's gonna be upgraded, that we will not allow you, within a year, we will not allow you to put that light in there. All the signal lights are about to be upgraded on the turnpike, and that project's supposed to start this month.
It's going from an 8-inch light to a 12-inch light.
I don't know the specifics of it, but they did it in Newington, and now they're continuing that project. They used the big arm
Yeah,
or the rows and stuff. So they're putting that in, and what they're saying is that we're not gonna authorize any entertaining for camera requests until this stuff has been in place for about a year, because the sequencing of the signal lights that we're gonna change may correct some of that problematic factor as well. So you're gonna have to wait for a while. So we're gonna have to wait for this project to be done. We're probably gonna have to wait for about a year after that to do another traffic analysis before we could even request from the state to put traffic light cameras into those lights. So
But that would
we're
actually
a long
work.
way up.
but that would actually work for us in the sense that we can see like how some of these other FOI kind of lawsuits. or
Right.
Whatever,
Yeah.
I don't know what we're calling them, but how some of this other stuff plays out.
So not just this commission, but many commissions in the state, City Board, to be exact. The small towns are like, hey, we gotta do this. Small town leadership, they're saying, we got the ability to put red light cameras in. Because they're looking at it as a way to make revenue. And every time we've done anything historically to make revenue, when I first got a job, when we wrote the tickets, there used to be a fee for the state, a fee for the town, then your total amount, and the town got some money, so they tell you, go out and write a lot of tickets. You know, we need the revenue money, that's not the way to do it, it's a tax, I don't care what you call it, but it's a tax, right? And then we got away from that, and now we're looking at, okay, so now what we're gonna do is we're gonna let the towns do this themselves with state oversight. And because they've been crying, everybody wants these, they see them in California, they see them in Florida, they see them in a lot of states. You know, every time I go to an intersection, I look up at the lights, I see a camera. We have cameras all over the place. Law enforcement doesn't use those cameras. Those cameras are so your TV channels, when they can tell you where the traffic jams are in the mornings. When they put that big project on 84 and on 91, where they started putting up those variable message signs, and you saw these pads being built, and then they put these like, they're supposed to be on wheels, but they permanently mounted those variable message signs, and they put cameras. I'm like on 84 saying, man, we got a lot of problems on 84 between coming in from Connecticut from the New York border, exit 1 to exit 8 every day is a war zone on cars, right? So they put all these things up, and then we're saying, as a taxpayer, I'm like, this is gonna be great. You know, the police are gonna be able to watch the cameras and all. They're not there for us. Alyssa on Channel 8 in the morning is going to the camera. Oh, look, don't avoid this, find another route. That's what you see. I think, yeah, I think when it really comes down to what the cost is gonna be for this red light camera program, I think smaller towns, I don't know if the cities are gonna do it. I just can't see the cost. It really is, you gotta do a cost analysis. What's the cost and what's the benefit? And who's gonna monitor this? Who's gonna be the hearing loss? I wanna, you gave me a ticket because you got my car going through a red light. But I let my teenager drive it that day, but the ticket comes to the registered owner. There's gonna be a lot of challenges because it's new in Connecticut. Other states have already been through this, the challenges going. I think that we shouldn't rush into this. We should see what the other places do. Let them make all the mistakes and deal with all the extra costs in this, but that's my personal opinion, and my professional opinion.
No, I
The state
appreciate it.
infraction, yeah, if I can get you to pull over, give you that 14301 violation for running that stop sign. Great, you get the ticket, you know? A lot of people don't stop.
Well, I appreciate your insight as to the curiosity questions that were on this audit.
Yeah, that's one of the things I see on this audit too, is I wanna know where these numbers came from. Because, but just looking at this tonight, I see two trends again. I can say, I think there's, changes in the way that we're doing police work. You have the COVID era, staying away from people and all. You have the change in our juvenile justice system, which really took effect. Yeah, the raise the age about 27, was it earlier than that?
Yeah.
Raise the age was 2013, you know, time flies by.
No, it was even
No.
earlier than that, because it was like prior to 2010.
Yeah, it's hard to believe it's already been that long, but yeah, about that probably.
Yeah.
So, and that has effects on this too. What you talk about juvenile review boards and all, very few places have juvenile review boards before raise the age. That was like.
That was like a mandate.
Now everybody's trying to do it now, so. Yeah, there's a lot of this. We closed our juvenile courts, we got rid of some of our places.
So a lot of this lands on the legislative side of what's happening in Connecticut.
Well-
Contributed to a lot of it.
And I don't wanna throw legislators under the bus. They're doing the job and the will of the people that elect them.
But sometimes I'll, because I'm elected, so I feel like I can say like,
That's somebody-
I mean, but sometimes I think our legislators are responding. And that's why I sometimes take the positions I do, they're responding without thinking of the consequences. Like raise the age, I'll pick on because that's been over a decade. Raise the age, okay, it may make sense, it may not. But if you're gonna do it, what are you doing to support the legislation you're enacting? What financial resources are you making available? A lot of the legislative decisions are not taking into account the fiscal responsibility of, or where the fiscal responsibility will land. So like things like, you know, and I feel like I can speak to juveniles more than anything. You raise the age, but you didn't allocate any money for services, you cut the money out of DOC, but you just cut the money and nobody got it. Like, things like these police mandates, you put these police mandates, mandatory things for us to get done, but you don't figure out where the funding is gonna come. So I think sometimes our legislators tend to be knee-jerk, the will of the people, but not thinking through
Yeah.
the follow-up steps of how this is gonna look
They're playing
in an
checkers,
executable
they're playing
way.
checkers when they should be playing chess.
Exactly, thank you, that's a better way of putting it.
So let's wrap up the chief's monthly report, and I would like to say it's nice to see in the second to the last paragraph, there's another first of drone fleet honor guard to fulfill with the Hartford Guard Bill King. On their first responders night in July, they look sharp and perform flawlessly, that's a great job.
Yeah, it was nice.
Thank you.
Good job.
Right, so moving on, that takes care of that, for all the time that was spent on explaining.
Well, kind of leave the item number 5 anyways, which we can discuss.
I feel like we already discussed it.
So we have under old business, we have, that would be the next item, is the renovation project update.
Oh, okay, so they started on the 16th, well, actually a little bit before the 16th, the actual start date was the 16th, so today is the 17th. And they got rid of most of the range already. We walked in there this morning, it's all the way open to the Board of Ed site, they're moving very rapidly. You know, they have a deadline, and they're gonna make their deadline, I understand it,
The deadline would be what,
not over,
It's a 300-day project.
300 days.
Yeah, they're moving.
Oh,
but,
yeah.
A lot still to be done, of course.
I mean, so that's
But for
going,
24 hours, sounds like you're pretty happy already.
and then we have, so that takes care of the renovation project, and then number 4 would be the racial profiling.
Yeah, so, we're supposed to be having a visit from, Ken Barone, who is the director of that project. I talked to him right before Christmas. We were talking about the end of January. I do not have a date yet for him. We've started putting together our statistics now. Like I told last month when this came out, that, you know, we didn't have the report when it was released to the media. Or leaked to the media is what I was told. I do have a copy of the report, and, you know, the report is really heavy on the state police and their ticket issues. But then we're in there, and we believe that it's the same situation that was the last tertiary time they did this, where the majority of our vehicular activity and police contacts occur in high crime neighborhoods or in high traffic areas, which Berlin is smack dab in the center of 3 big cities, New Britain, Meriden, and Hartford. And they're traveling through here, and they're more transient, it's not as much our residents, but they're transient. I think that our sit down with them is gonna get the same result that it got with my predecessors, and that is that, oh yeah, it's an anomaly and it's not a big deal. We do know, just and then looking at the number that you just gave us those numbers, the last tertiary, we had more motor vehicle stops annually prior to the COVID years. So our number of stops are way down, our contacts are way down, on that respect, and yet it's consistent with the anomaly that we saw in the previous 3-year period, so. Once I started to point that out on the phone, I think that's why he hasn't called me back, because he knows what's coming from us, but we are gonna sit down, we have to go through it. So, but it's at their pace, not our pace.
So moving on, that takes care of, number 4, we're gonna move on to new business, automated traffic enforcement safety devices, ATS. SV update, and that's, from Officer Robot. Does anybody have any questions on that? I am seeing that there's fitting, I'll help out here just a little bit, consideration of the DOT's approval of camera installation. Municipality must show justification for why each location is selected. To assist in that justification, we created a red light violation database, which is open source and available for public to use. In addition to the data extracted from that database, The DOT recommends that the municipality include in their justification the following, and this is what the chief was explaining earlier, updated phasing / timing sequence for the signal. Another bullet point show that there have been at least 2 crashes over a 3-year period in which a red light violation was the cause, in parentheses highlighted in yellow on page 2, and there's quite a few crashes, and we talk about those. Third bullet point, demonstrate that our countermeasures have already been implemented, but has not been effective, i.e. in parentheses, increased signal occasions from 8 to 12 inches use of LED lamps. Addition of retro reflective backplates, coordination, mitigation, traffic signals. So it's very complicated, as you were saying, to move forward with this. If we'd like to move to the second page, it is amazing if everybody's interested that if you look at the ones in yellow, highlighted in yellow, apparently 15 north and intersecting road 160 east. That's number of crashes 17. That's the highest one. That's a lot of crashes. That was specifically what you had.
Five endemic.
Yeah.
But that's also our highest volume of traffic in the entire town, so it's always gonna be our high crash intersection. It just, you know, you have the most amount of cars, you're gonna have the most crashes. The thousands of cars an hour.
1,200 cars is what block me an hour. That's the average for that intersection.
But when you look at the percentage caused by red light, or percentage red light cross, that becomes, Spruce Brook becomes the highest percentage. And I know that one's, I don't know if it's the shortest light in the world, or people just have to regard.
This lines are there.
One's-
It's like speedway coming in.
More of a speed issue.
Yeah.
Whereas five endemic is more of a rear end issue for cars that are stopping for red lights and then aren't paying attention, they rear end the car that they're behind.
And the speed issue is important to remember because one of the things that our officers that are out there doing the traffic enforcement. You know, people say, well, why aren't they sitting right on the light? Because the red light violation is usually the secondary violation to the speeding violation. And if they're speeding through, and some people speeding and also the light turns red, they can't stop, so they just drive through it anyways, because they don't get caught. So our guys are staying a little far back. I get a lot of complaint letters where they say, well, the officer was 1,000 feet up the road. Well, that's
So
because
they
it's
can
gonna
catch
take that time to catch him. Yeah, you know, it's.
But I
The
feel like,
public is frustrated, I more than understand, I'm frustrated every day I drive, then I don't work, I'm frustrated. The problem is, I wish that we had 4 or 5 officers that we could put out there. And hit lights and make, you know, press releases and stuff, which we started to do. But when our manpower got sapped, that was it. You
Is
know?
there any chance when we reach full strength, we might be able to accomplish that goal?
Yeah, we should be able to do something. And don't forget, we offered overtime to our officers to come in and do traffic enforcement. We can't force overtime. They didn't want to,
it's already ended, it's not.
Yes. on their days off. And
They need some
And
rest.
they know that they make more money standing on a ditch job than they do having to go track down people who just wanna run the ticket.
Good.
It's big, it's a big issue, there's so many things involved, I think Tom did a good job in his letter. Cause he took that big packet and broke it down into some very, simple hard points, you know.
But it seems like the long and the short is we have to wait at least 2 years anyway.
Well, because our big area is the turnpike and our high traffic intersections, which are connected to the turnpike.
And we know like south of the turnpike it's speed, but it seems like north of the turnpike it's more
Volume.
volume.
Very close to the retail area.
Yeah,
So we'll move on to report and review, investigation division, any questions there? That would be with Lieutenant Sola. See that Sergeant Schreiner was assigned to the detective sergeant effective 1/16/24. Congratulations. Those effective.
I had 3 parties in for interviews, all good, did good, but he was the best fit. And last night he was out doing the crime scene work at the burglary.
Oh, he did?
Oh, yeah.
Anybody else have anything else on that, report?
We're very happy about the outcome of the bank robbery. You know, the other robberies that we've had, we've got warrants, we've done all kinds of evidence, search warrants going. They're doing a lot of investigative work. And even last night's incident, we're doing more of getting information out in the press. And it also is tying in Middletown, Weathersfield, our surrounding areas, we're seeing the same people, seeing the same suspect.
So Sergeant Schreiner is gonna probably be responsible for a huge boost in the activities in the.
Yeah, well, what he brings to our detective bureau is experience too. Besides having another supervisor, he brings that experience, he wasn't there, and, you know, we have young detectives.
All right, moving on, we are going to go to the youth officer report with Sergeant Kelly.
Yeah, Sergeant Kelly's no longer the youth officer, but, Detective JP is now the youth detective. That all occurred on the agenda, so next one, we see it, like, with his name on the agenda.
So apparently there's a very small number of victims here, but that's his own.
Yeah, and even though Kelly's on the road as a sergeant, he still has some cases open, and JP still has some other non-juvenile big cases going. In fact, one of them was a very large larceny that has multi-state implications. That's over $900,000 in debt, and which was turned over to the FBI focus.
So there's a transition, which is the juvenile detective position from.
Yeah.
Okay, very good. We have, support services division, Lieutenant Jobs. Do you have any questions there? Pretty sizable.
We've had an opportunity to see on the front page about some of these grants, and we get sent stuff for grants all the time. Our problem is we cannot make the commitment with the grant money. We'll get it, that's not the issue, we can't make a commitment without the manpower. And that's been an issue for us.
And we're hoping that all of our field training, officer work, and all of our new hires should be completely on the job by Monday. So maybe it'll open the
Next
door.
January, next February.
Is that
About a year from now,
so we can entertain using some of this grants by impossible?
hopefully,
Knock on wood, if nobody's in the house.
yeah,
We can only hope.
yeah.
Okay, moving on, to the patrol division, Lieutenant Martin. Anybody have anything they'd like to say there?
Great work.
My question would be that if you look at the assault, it says Officer Green, Santi, and Kennedy did an excellent job during the busy Saturday shift. There was an important between shoved out and with a gun involved, the officers promptly proceeded to the scene. Officer Green was flagged down by witness identifying the suspect field and led to pursuit by officers Green and Kennedy. They used good judgment during the pursuit, and all the officers diligently chased leads and aspects of the ensuing investigation, which culminated with the apprehension of the operator of the Trinity and Middletown. My question would be, this happens within how many time period, basically?
Oh,
Was this more than a day,
No.
24 hours?
within 24 hours, less than that.
Wow,
Yeah.
that's amazing.
And the woman that got shoved out was she didn't want to frustrate. She didn't want to speak.
Anybody else? And you have your calls for service, which is done in a very nice blue highlight, barcode there. looks like in December we had, we were up from November to, well, we had October, November, yeah. 1568, so I'm assuming we're probably a little less by the length of the bar.
Yeah.
That's pretty much it. We got kind of overview of activity analysis. Anybody else have anything? Crashes, same motor vehicle location, motor vehicle stops last month. It's all pretty much in the same demographic area for the most part. And when you do your supervisory spot checks, it just involves every aspect, as far as organizational skill and planning, users and all that kind of stuff.
Some of the stuff that you don't see in like their personal evaluations.
Alright, so moving on. You have administration operations / training reports, and that would be Deputy Chief Gallup, who happens to be here in person. Would you like to comment on that?
Wanna comment on this?
Oh, me?
Yeah.
No, we're making, I think we've done a lot of training, what we have, unfortunately, we kind of had a halt training for the year because we simply run out of money. I've been working a lot with Kevin, and we will get some more money in that account, but we also have to do a lot of mandated training.
Yeah, that's a very big part of this cost
That's what
overrun.
we have to do.
Yeah, budget, correct.
We also have new supervisors promoting, we have to train them, so it's, but we have done a lot of training this year, but the training we're gonna do now for the next 6 months is basically the stuff we kind of have to do.
How close are we to, because I know one of your goals was to kind of say eliminate the need for, you know, West Hartford and sending your people out and doing.
We're still working on it.
How close are we?
We're very close, actually. We've actually not, that's starting on our range time and, one of the other things.
We eliminated 1 day, we used to go there for 4 days, we could go there for 3 days.
Okay.
And West Hartford is a good resource because we share trainers and stuff, so it's worked out really well for us over the years. But there is a lot of other state mandated training that we're gonna be doing ourselves
Okay.
here at the police department, because we're sending people to train the trainers and stuff. But the stuff we go to West Hartford for is the stuff that you have to do every
research
year,
stuff.
so that by your 3rd year, you're completely certified and they will recertify you. So the West Hartford system works out pretty good. We could do it some other ways that we're kind of investigating.
Okay.
But, I mean, the system works really good.
So some of this in-house one is more for the new mandates versus the research.
Yeah,
Okay.
like, we have a trainer for, in the traffic right now. And then, that's. a
We
big
just
one.
revamped that curriculum.
Yeah, but that's, you know,
Just
Mandate.
sent somebody to school for that.
yeah,
Yeah, that.
you know, so
Trainers.
anything that's really mandated, we're trying to create a trainer for each one of those. We're doing pretty good now. Sergeant Gould was up here earlier. He's a use of force instructor. And so he does training too. He does most teachers MOI. So we're trying to create this cadre that, you know,
We take a lot of care of a lot of this in-house versus.
well, yes, part of our problem is our officers are very young right now. So the older officers, weren't really in that training mode to begin with. And other than having to go to their training. The younger officers wanna be trainers, which is good, but they gotta put some time in too, before they become trainers. So we're caught in that quandary, you know, 20 years of service before you really start to be trained. And we are looking at 2 or 3 different things right now for the training. Our problem is every time we get close to something, we get another mandate from post telling us, oh, by the way, this is happening. A simple thing. Our officers are all medical responders. It's simple. They go to the academy, they get EMR training during the academy. Well, post never sent us no training. The class just started, no more EMR training. But post will offer you that training on a separate week of training after the academy for $300 a head. And we already paid $3,800 to have people go to an academy, that's supposed to be an overnight academy, which is why you pay the $3,800 a head for the night watchman or whatever, but they haven't had an overnight academy before COVID. And every academy they tell us, this is gonna be the next in-residence academy, and as soon as they start, no, we don't have anybody. So there's a big money making going on here.
So they're charging the same rate,
Yes.
Yeah.
that's
Well,
because
they're
they're not
including-
getting as many meals.
You're not gonna
If
see-
you want me to-
Right?
It's
Yeah.
like reason
Do
to
they
knock
get
off the cost.
they get
Basically
3 meals
doing
a day?
lunch,
Yeah.
but they're cutting out some of the training that they used to do.
Yeah, they're cutting out some of the training, so you got to sort
You're not feeding them, but you're still charging us the same price.
It's called lunch.
Yeah, and then they add $300 or something, that used to be, now it's a la carte.
yeah.
So how do we bring them in house? So we don't have to pay them.
Well,
We
we
can
have,
people to
we
go.
have one medical trainer now, but we gotta make a couple more.
Okay. And
You
then we
You
can
can't
start
just
saying,
have, you can't just have one trainer in this, one trainer in this, one trainer in this, you gotta have depth. It's like a
Yeah.
football team, you know what? If my wide receiver is playing, I gotta go to the second wide receiver. And that's what, we're in that role, and then the other thing is, you wanna be a trainer. Cause you don't want somebody, you don't wanna say, hey, it's your turn to go to training school, and you're gonna come back and you're gonna teach. I don't wanna be an instructor.
and you don't want that person instructing. people.
Yeah, so we have a group of officers who like doing instructing, but we're trying to get the younger people more interested. This is not a police problem, this is a generation problem. They're gonna come in 30 to 40 hours a week and go home. That's all they wanna know. And that's another issue. And at our mid-state chiefs meeting last week, Drew didn't tell you, he was with me at this meeting, and we've started, we're developing our own trained officer organization just for the 5 departments. Because everybody's in the same home. In a different way maybe, but in the same home, because people have different skill sets.
So have
So we need
people
to start
resources
sharing things,
charged.
yeah. So we're working on, it. But all these things kind of like making the training officer position, getting that person to start thinking about, okay, how are we gonna do this? It's all new and, you know, it's taking time.
So moving on, we have the budget. We pretty much, I mean, what are you gonna say? I mean, the overtime here, I can see we're down to what, 22% for till the fiscal year, is that the way I did it?
6
Right.
months.
Yeah,
Right.
So,
I just talked to Kevin, and we haven't addressed that.
Yeah.
We're adding more to our budget again for next year to compensate for.
so we have to get through to what is the end of June.
Oh, we won't make it nearly that far, but we will transfer money from other places. Cover that.
again, if we can get the 46 officers, the overtime budget will not go away, but it should go down.
Because you have mandatory this, mandatory that. There's nothing to do with it.
Yeah.
Okay.
46 is a nice number. 50 would be a much better number.
Freedom of information request line, any questions on that, anybody? I see that Marlene took care of the Jeff Bottom.
Yeah.
She was able to handle that, I don't know.
Well, you just have to put everything together and get the information back. You know,
She actually did too, she did the job. Talked about.
Well, the FOI starts with her,
yeah,
and then they get dispersed out to other people to make videos, and then it comes back to her and she shoots them out, but.
Oh, is that how that
Generally,
works?
the FOI starts with her, then it gets distributed.
she doesn't do the video redaction or anything like that.
She'll get copies of reports and stuff like that herself, but then videos, someone else will do that, and if we need.
And
Body
she'll actually
cameras.
gather this information and give it to the person that's looking for it.
Right.
Well, it takes care of, the regular, report review. So if we need an executive session for any reason, do we have a reason for executive session?
Yeah, I'd like to go in the executive session for a minute.
No, an executive question.
It's at the end, Joan, so if you would like to take off, we'll just give you the date
Oh,
of the
okay.
time.
32. Exit us
There we go.
from the meeting.
Right, great
So-
meeting. Thank you.
Paul moved to exit at 7:59 and I seconded it.
You want 59 instead of 58?
Well, no,
Well,
59 for mid to executive session
Oh,
and then
okay.
and adjournment.
Then it's up and down. You seconded it?
We're good?
We're good.
Okay,
Thank you.